It's time for the Other Three Amigos podcast. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
This week's episode of the Other Three Amigos podcast, we have the result of the walking football. We meet some of the players for a night out in the Rob Roy. That includes new signing Andrew Ryan out in his Stag. The new manager bounce, where's it gone for us? Can Fikra Kelleher save us? Both as Daniel's off to Kilmarnock, it is in Mbeng going to Belgium. We do eventually get around to talking about some actual football, and it just so happens to be one of the worst performances of Cork City's history, before we then head to one of our most interacted with mailbags of all time. All of this and more on this week's episode of the Other Three Amigos podcast. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 21, Episode 281 of your multi-award winning podcast. Throw us a 5-star rating on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Dan Casey here, and I'm joined by my other three amigos tonight. The full squad is in the building. Wayne Mullins, Declan Carey, but Declan McCormack is currently, has a bit of a delay. He forgot his laptop for the podcast. But anyway, why not join us on Patreon? Patreon.com/TOTAP. We're doing our best with the time we have that we have to give you a bit of value over there. So it's €5 a month to join us. Wayne Mullins, you seem fairly cheery now talking to you before we jumped on.
I've had a very productive day. I've managed to put a clothesline up in the back garden.
I seen that you did put that in the chat. You're very proud of that one.
Quite impressed. No, it is a bit slanted. It's a bit like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. But look, just close on it. It's fine. It works. And it was all because of a nice Woody's YouTube how-to. And I got it done in about an hour.
Declan Carey, you were offering your advice as well to him, I believe, on how to
I absolutely was, Dan, from a fella who's gone through the absolute pains of garden renovations and getting my grass in pristine K-Club-esque condition. I was appalled to see Wayne's, I'm sure he thinks they're pretty little daisies and shamrock or whatever, but unfortunately, Wayne, your garden is fairly diseased and it needs urgent treatment. And, I'm happy to have a sidebar conversation with you afterwards.
Which is in more trouble, the club or Wayne's garden?
I
think Wayne's garden just shades it at the minute.
I never cut the grass. I should have cut the grass before I got the cement and the dig and all that, but I didn't. So that's why it looks like weeds, but it's actually not. It's perfectly growth going on in my garden at the minute.
Jesus, I'll send you a photo of the state of mine in a while there. And
are you wearing a Kerry jersey?
I am wearing a Kerry jersey.
How does that happen?
Because I've started now. I tell you, I've started going for jogs on my lunch hour and work.
Oh,
it saves you so much time in the evening, especially when I don't have time doing shit like this. And I got it done at lunch, and then you can just throw on whatever you want then for the rest of the evening. So that's why I do it. And I just got it when I was down in college in Tralee.
Is it not against the rules, laws, whatever it's called, Judaism, to be wearing a Kerry jersey, no?
No. I see we've been joined by the Colombian drug lord himself in the shadows, Declan McCormack. Where we've actually only got going because, once again, we've never got a clean recording on TOTAP, and Declan Carey's internet completely went bang. So we've actually just started.
There I was, Dan, thinking that she'd waited for me, but no, just because Carey's internet.
I was telling the lads to wait for you, but Carey wouldn't, Decky. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, come here. At least I'm not the only one with internet issues then,
Oh, God. 1 meg per second, my speed test was there when I speed tested on my phone. It's back now to the whopping 500 solid, so yeah, we're all good now. Welcome back, Deck. Right. I know the traffic on the way to TOTAP Towers was fairly hectic at the moment, but with everything that's gone on this weekend, but look, I'm sure we'll get to that.
Can we get into it?
When one is driving to TOTAP Towers and realises when they're 7/8 of the way there that they forgot their laptop and have to turn around and go back and get it again. It's it's quite gut wrenching, I'll be honest with you. But look, we're here now.
All right. No games in the academy match as the junior and leaving certs are still ongoing, so I hope they're doing well. I'm sure they're doing fine. But we do have the results of the walking football, and that, of course, finished 2-0 to Bows and Turner's Cross on Friday night. It is now time for Commie Watch.
Commie Watch with Ivan Drago on the Other Three Amigos podcast.
Dan,
That was
Declan
some
Carey.
knockout punch.
Dan,
Holy
you were preparing that since Friday. Like, you know.
Look, not a great goal scorer, but a scorer of great
Oh,
goals.
unbelievable! Unbelievable.
Declan Carey, what are your favourite drinking establishments in Cork City?
Do you know what? I actually have. Look, I'm a Norrie out and out, the pride of Knocknaheeny, and I have been known to indulge in a visit to the Rob Roy on occasions. Then, Rock and Jerry on the box and everything. Like what a spot when you're absolutely 9 pints deep, and you know you just want a few old classics and all that.
You do need to be 11 o'clock knee deep in pints because there's normally good band in there, and again, Army at the front going, hey, being the fanboy at the front. It is good fun.
Yeah, it is.
Deck, I know you said you'd like to be 9 points deep, but it's even better when you're 10 points deep or 10 points adrift, whichever it might be.
11.
Ah, jeez.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
10. Is it
look,
still 10? It's still 10. It is.
It's 10 off Waterford. 10 off Waterford.
Are we counting the Nano League or the Pico League, or what are we talking about now? Adrift in what league?
Lads, can we just get on to the fucking elephant in the room here, the players drinking in the Rob Roy, and let's be done with it.
What happened? What happened? This is the first I've heard of this.
Well, there's video footage, Wayne Mullins, as you smile cheekily, you full fucking well what happened, of certain City players in the Rob Roy enjoying their night. Look, some people saying they're quite entitled to do it, but it is stinging a lot of City fans out there, as at the time City Sligo won their game against Waterford, so that put City bottom of the League of Ireland table, and after, of course, the shit show of a performance that was Friday night against Bows. So, Wayne, can you understand their anger if you haven't seen the video?
I can. I'm more of this position of, like, it could be a bonding session. You're entitled to do it once. Do it twice, and then you're going to be in trouble. I always bring it back to 2005 when every single City player was on the tear in Havana Browns. They'd be in the VIP room, and there'd be champagne and vodkas. There'd be a whole lot that's been thrown all over the place. But we were winning, you know? And nobody expects players like to not have a life. I get that. But that performance on Friday was an utter disgrace. One of the worst I've seen in 33 years supporting this football club. And I think the night Sligo then beat Waterford, it's just not good timing. Especially being the, how would you put it, the higher stature players, you know,
Senior players.
And the reason we're kind of a bit I'm not really going hard on them. I think, you know, we're entitled to go out and have a drink or two, whatever. But it's after what happened in 2023, and we're still burnt from that. Just thank Christ it wasn't a secret garden, because I think if it was, I think it would have tipped us over the edge. But just know when to do this kind of thing, and know that there's people watching all the time. There is, like, yeah, there's only 3,000 people going to the games, but there's probably 10,000 City fans in the city and the other 7 just don't bother going anymore. People know who you are. Just tone it down a little bit, I would say.
Well, the Rob Roy just wanted to put up promoting it was like Cork team drinking in Rob Roy.
They knew, you could see the camera panning,
like,
and you knew he kept going over it and trying to get the perfect shot. He knew, and if I was a City player, I'd be a bit kind of going, well, we're not going there again, you know?
Oh, definitely, yeah. But I'm with you, Wayne. Like, it's a kind of a case of, look, when you're winning, no one takes any notice of any of these things. But when you're losing and you're on a track where it looks like at best we're going to get a playoff spot by the time the season ends, everything you do as a club, and the players especially, is going to be heavily, heavily scrutinised. So I hope, look, it was a lesson for some of the lads. Some of them, look, in the video, I've absolutely great time for, and all that. So look, they're entitled to go out and have a beer or two and have a good time, like the rest of us. But, like, do you know what? It's just a very difficult time at the moment for the club, and absolutely every move you make, every breath you take, they'll be watching you. So, you know.
Cheers.
Just one thing
cheers
I have to say, right? I need to clarify this. They weren't falling out of the pub. They weren't causing hassle. They weren't throwing digs at people in different parts of Cork. They were just having drinks. So let me just clarify.
Exactly,
it's not a case of them, like, they were being very respectful of them. I don't know. I'm just saying, in the video, it was just them drinking. It's no massive deal.
Come on.
No, it's no massive deal. But they need to understand that. What do you mean, come on?
Come on, seriously. Like, I mean, it's about timing, as you said, Scotty. It's about reading the room and understanding where the fan base is in relation to what's gone on, right? There's been the mid-season break that Damien Duff did 50,000 interviews describing as the Jolly Boys Open. Everybody's in Dublin Airport on the Saturday morning, heading off on the piss for a week, right? We know our lads were away. That's fine. It's the mid-season break. We had all the sound bites from Ger Nash in the build-up to it. Double training sessions. We're going to be better. We're going to be this. We're going to be that. There was an expectation of a performance last Friday night that would reflect Ger Nash's New Cork City. And what we got, as you said yourself, Wade, was an absolutely abysmal, disgraceful effort. And it's the first time this year we have to go after the players, because that performance wasn't Dermot Usher's fault. That performance probably wasn't Ger Nash's fault. I'm sure he had some input into it. That performance lay at the feet of the players and the squad, and those who didn't look like they had much interest in being there or putting in much of an effort, right? So you take that, that's Friday night. The fan base booed them off. Everybody knows that this is a time to just keep your head down and don't antagonize the fan base any further. Saturday night, Sligo beat Waterford. We're now bottom of the league. Now, you referenced 2023. The one thing that never happened in 2023 was that Cork City were bottom of the league. Not once that season were Cork City bottom of the league. We're now bottom of the league. I don't know when the last time Cork City were bottom of the Premier Division. Maybe Declan could tell us. But, you know, it's...
shortened season. Asterisk didn't count.
It's nobody cares, Deck. Nobody cares, trust me, right? But I'm getting away from the point here now. You relegated us, Deck. Stop.
Wasn't me.
No, seriously. Okay, all right, okay. Listen.
What's the name of this podcast again, and who was it named after? Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, so we're bottom of the league. That changes everything again. Look at the reaction online when Sligo win on Saturday night. And then you have this scenario whereby it's not the young fellas, it's not the 21, 22, 23-year-olds who are out. It's the experienced lads. It's actually the lads that we would expect to be the ones saying to the younger guys, lads, read the room, keep your heads down for the weekend, don't do anything stupid. But they're not. They're the ones. Now, as you said, they're only having a few drinks, but they had the week off. So everybody assumes that they spent the whole, not the week before, because they were back in training but the week before that on the beer in Spain on the break. You just can't do it. And it doesn't matter. It's PR. It's reading the room. You have to understand the situation you find yourself in. And that's the problem. As you said, if we're winning and top of the league, nobody batters an eyelid. But we're not. We're bottom of the fucking league. And people will batter an eyelid. And they will complain. And they will moan. And the most disappointing aspect of it, by far, is that it's the players that you would expect to understand that. And the players you would expect to lead by example are the ones in the Rob Roy. And as I said, you can't get away. For me personally, I don't know why any professional footballer drinks during the season. I just don't understand it. But that's just me, and I don't impose my ideas on other people. But you have to read the room. And this club from top to bottom is an absolute mess. There's just no getting away from it. It is an absolute mess. And then you see scenarios like this, and the fan base just go, oh, why am I paying 25 quid to go to a Bows match where it looks to the fan base like the players don't try a fucking inch? And then you have 5 or 6 or 7 of the senior players out on the piss on the Saturday night. Now, I will say this much. They're absolutely robbed and shit out of luck that the Rob Roy threw them under the bus by putting out that fucking stupid video. And as you guys said, it's too late to hammer the Rob Roy, no. But and then they're up the Rebel Army and the Cork lads up the Rebel Army. The Rebel Army are the fan base. And this is another thing that's starting to annoy me and is getting pulled around the place. The fan base are the Rebel Army. The football club is not the Rebel Army. The players are not the Rebel Army. The fan base is the Rebel Army. The fan base own that moniker. The fan base owns the Rebel Army branding. So, let's not confuse ourselves. And like, I'm trying to stay level-headed here. And listen, fairness to the lads. We understand there was stuff on and they just went out afterwards. But as I said, I can't get away from the disappointment that it's Greg Bulger, it's Shawnee, it's Keats, it's the lads who should understand, who should know, who should be setting the example. And they're the lads who were caught, and they were caught, to be fair. Like, do you know what I mean? As you said, Wayne, there's no issues, there's no arguments with fans, there's none of the stuff we had in Bandon in 2023. But if they're out next weekend and the weekend after, it's just inevitable that happens. There's no way it doesn't happen. Because some City fans going to approach them and tell them, you're shit, or you're not trying. And some player with 7 points or 8 points deep is going to say, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? And all of a sudden it's going to kick off. It's inevitable.
Yeah, you saw it, Decky, like up in Galway a couple of weeks ago, and then after full time on Friday night, like the players approaching fans behind the Curra Road end or whatever as they're walking down the tunnel, and like as you said, throw 6 or 7 points into a fella, and if he bumps into someone Clancy's on a Saturday night after Sligo pull away from us even further or whatever, like it's only, as you said, absolute recipe for disaster and a PR incident waiting to happen. And look, I don't want people to be listening to this saying like, geez, like you're going to town on 4 or 5 lads having a few pints on Saturday night.
To town on anyone.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, we're not. It's just obviously it's disappointing. Like, and
not yet anyway, lads. It's still,
as you said, the most disappointing part is like, again, it's our senior players who we all have great time for and are our leaders. And if this was a bunch of young fellas, you'd probably be thinking, I can't wait for Greg Bulger and Shawnee and a few and our captain to get a hold of them on Monday, like, and but
yeah, exactly.
Is this just the way things are gone, Dick? Like at the end of the day, the players are just all here to get a wage, and really deep down, are they here because of the Rebel Army and they love the fans and all this?
That's
not like
that's the next question. What do these players want their legacy to be? What do these like? If you mention Shawnee Maguire to me, the first thing I think of is 2017. The first thing anybody thinks of is 2017. That 5-month period at the start of that season where everything he touched turned into a goal. I mean, no League of Ireland player in history has played at the level that Shawnee played at in that period. And I will stand over that till the day I die. And I've seen great League of Ireland players. I've seen Paul Azam. I've seen Wes Houlihan. I've seen John O'Flynn. I've seen Georgie, Jason Byrne, Glenn Crowe. I've seen the vast majority of the great League of Ireland players and great League of Ireland finishers.
Greg Bulger over in Hacking, Decky, and
exactly.
Nobody
had a period like Shawnee had. Like, just nobody could touch him. If you ask me in 10 years' time, Dick, we're sitting at a pub after a City game in 10 years' time, and you say to me, remember Shawnee Maguire in 2017? Like, what a player, what a goal-scoring record, everything else. And somebody at the table which is going to say, yeah, but remember he was part of the relegation in 25. And his legacy will be tarnished. Greg's legacy will be tarnished. Their legacies at the moment are double winners, all-time greats, carried 2 trophies back to Turner's Cross. No other team has done that before. Their legacies will be tarnished if they're part of a relegation this year. Dara Crowley. Does Dara want to be remembered as a player who got relegated twice with the club? Keats is in the same boat. Does Keats want to be a player who's remembered, whose legacy is two relegations? Of course they don't. Of course they don't. But what are they going to do about it? Are they going to roll over and have their bellies tickled by Bows and St. Pat's every weekend? Are they going to stand up and fucking fight? And this is the question the fan base want answered. If you're going to roll over and you're just going to have your bellies tickled, just let us know. We'll stay at home. It won't bother us. Just let us know that that's how it's going to play out for the rest of the season. Stand up and fight is the Munster fucking thing, but it's exactly what we need. We need the club to stand up and fight. We need the players to stand up and fight. And I'm sorry, but being in the pub doing fucking Wakefield Saturday night, 2 hours after Sligo put us bottom of the table, is not going to go down well with the fan base. It's just not. There's no getting away from that. So, look, it's Decky on a rant again. I'm not ranting. I'm trying to point out how the fan base sees these things. And I know the players understand it. I know they know. And yes, we know there was a personal day out. We understand that. There's just no need to go into town afterwards. There's no need, and again, the Rob Roy screwed them badly, gave them an awful screw and fucked them under the bus. But it's out there now, and we've all seen it, and we all know what's happened. Come on, guy. This is Cork City. We're bottom of the Premier Division. The fan base is on absolute fire. Absolute fire. Yeah. And what did the senior players do? The dressing room leaders, those we looked at to keep everybody in line, to keep everybody doing the professional things that should be done to get the club out of the situation it finds itself in. They're on the piss on the Saturday night that we go bottom of the table. It's just a terrible, terrible look. And I apologise to the players if they think I'm having a go at them. I'm not really. I'm just pointing out the reality of the situation. And somebody needs to get a hold of that dressing room now. And somebody needs to get a hold of the club. Be it Ger Nash, be it David Moyler. Do you know who it might be? It might be my fucking head. It might be Nults. Nults might be the one to do it. Because somebody put on the forum on Friday night or Saturday night, Nults' speech in after we beat Dundalk inside in Soho, the famous, now in inverted commas, fuck Dundalk speech. Watched it again and listened to it again. I thought, Jesus, Nults went into that dressing room on Friday night. There's no way he's accepting this shit. There's no way that Mark McNulty, who gave that speech in Soho, is accepting what he saw on the pitch on Friday night. So maybe it falls to Nults to be the one to let the players know. But somebody has to let them know. Somebody has to let the club know. This club is a mess from top to bottom. An absolute mess. And we don't have much time to sort it out. Because
I don't want to fuck.
Relegation finishes us. Relegation finishes us. So no, some of these players have brilliant legacies to protect. I hope they want to protect them. And I hope they want to protect their legacies. I hope they want to be remembered for what they are. Double winners, great players, great goal scorers, the best goal scoring performance and patch that this league has ever seen. Or do they want to tarnish that with a relegation? A whimpering relegation where they don't show up, they don't fight, they don't stand proud, they don't stand tall, they don't represent what's on the jersey, they don't represent the crest, they don't represent the fan base, but far worse, they don't represent the city. Sorry, I meant to say they don't represent the city, and far worse, they don't represent the fan base. Because the fan base here, the Rebel Army, the ones who pay in every week, who back this team, back these players to the hilt, they're not being represented on the pitch. And that has to change. It has to change. Sorry, they were. They weren't represented last Friday night. And that's the scariest thing. We had 2 weeks off. I, like a fool on the last podcast, said, I actually think Bows might be on the, Bows might be slow after the break, but we'll be at it. We'll be the ones who are at it because Ger's going to have us done. We weren't at it. It was the complete opposite. Bows were at it all night. We just stood there and had our bellies tickled. If that's what these players want to be remembered for, that's fine. Just let us know. We'll deal with it then.
All right. I don't want to spend too long talking about the players drinking, but from one PR disaster to another, really. Wayne Mullins, what did you think of comedian Andrew Ryan? He came out as the very hilarious and very funny adult mascot. I guess you can't blame him, but the ignorance towards the fan base in general just seems to be absolutely astounding from the club.
Yeah, I think the club, again, I don't think the club know what they're doing half the time. I think a lot of stuff is off the cuff, and I think that there's no long-term plan. There's no medium-term plan. It's all just last minute. Oh, yeah, great idea. Everyone will be happy with this. And I even saw, like, you see the videos after, he's very uncomfortable doing it. But it's his stag. Like, you can't blame him for doing it. But I think, again, it's the club just being I don't know what we're trying to do. I really, if we're top of the table and we're winning and it's all great laughs, it's fun. But what person at football club goes, "This is a good idea"? I just don't understand it.
The same person who came up with Loof Lurpa, no doubt. Like, they'll do anything for a few likes on Instagram to seem cool and hip with the dubs.
And this,
Throw it up on LinkedIn. It's absolute bullshit.
Decky had a 5-minute speech there of like, this is what we need to do. It's too late. I don't think anything is going to stop us getting relegated. And we're done as a football club, a proper football club. Yeah, we'll probably be like Athlone or Longford and stuff, but for some reason in Cork, we lose all our money. We get big crowds, but we can't save them. We piss the money away. Happens every bloody year. Yeah, do you know? As I said, I don't think you can't blame the Stag party. They just put in the offer. The club accepted it. It's the club's fault 100 million%. And why they did it, do you know what? Everyone's going to say, "Oh, you're complaining again." It's just a stupid thing to do.
You just don't seem... I'm not going to say like you don't care anymore, but you normally get very passionate and normally you be trying looking for the positives. You just seem like
there is no positive. There is zero positives. There's nothing. There is zero positives in the football club at the minute. And last year, 2 years ago, I got hammered by the club for calling players pricks. Do you remember that?
Like
pricks. I didn't call them pricks. I said like pricks. They're acting like pricks. And I got hammered for that by the owner. Let's just see. We know he listens. This is what happened. I think now he needs to actually look at what was said and go, do you know what? Maybe he was right, and maybe it's happening again. Because like that performance on Friday night was an absolute disgrace. I brought my little fella to the game. Got him the scarf, got him the chips, got him the program. We left at halftime because he was bored, didn't like it. Atmosphere was just a bit. He just didn't get it, And it's like, what's the point anymore? We're going to be here again next year, and there'll be 1,000 people down Turner's Cross. There's no future for this. I think we're completely doomed. Friday night was a must-win game. We bottled it. Not even, didn't care. No one cared.
I'm not even sure it was must-win, but it was must put in.
It was an absolute
win.
We had to win that game. We're 10 points behind them. 10 points behind third from bottom. We had to win the game, and we blew it. Because nobody gives a shit. End of story.
Declan Carey.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit.
I just on Wayne's point earlier about the mascot. And I know people are going to say, "Oh God, they spent the first 20 minutes of the pod talking about the Rob Roy and the mascot." But like, do you know what? And you're wearing the Kerry jersey, the GA one, I know, but it just reminds me of him. Colin Healy's the manager of our team. He does not let that happen under any circumstances whatsoever, because he had standards and he made sure that when it came to the footballing side and the team, that was 100% his remit. And as soon as that man jogged out onto the pitch awkwardly and was yammering in the air to Cahill O'Sullivan and the Bulls players walking, there's just not a hope in hell Colin Healy would have allowed that. We wouldn't even have had the balls to ask him. In my day, we would have just said, God almighty, there's no way that's happening anyway. Not a hope. And I'm actually delighted for Colin that he's no longer with the club, and for his own sanity and patience, he doesn't have to be dealing with that nonsense anymore. And I'm sure he's well able to call the shots now down in Kerry when it comes to his team and how he prepares his players before they go out onto the pitch. And I know people who say once the whistle blows, it's the players are responsible and all that. As far as I'm concerned, from the minute the players walk down Kerr Road and go into the gate of the stadium, they're working and they need full concentration, and the manager is responsible for them. And it's just a complete shambles. And again, shock horror, spanked again at home then, of course, to make this stuff get laser focus and the magnifying glass on it, because fans are just looking for someone to blame. This is what happens in football. And yeah, that's just my point on it. Best of luck to your man in his wedding or whatever. Like, to be honest, Andrew, nobody cares. But look, I'm sure, you had a great time on your stag and whatever. I'm probably just jealous now at this stage that my stag days are behind me. Like, but anyway, yeah. Best of luck, but like, we could have really done without that. And I know, as you said, it's not his fault, but yeah, the club needs to take a really long, hard look at themselves now. And we said it on the pod multiple times, like, there needs to be social media blackout on all jokes, humor, all that playfulness and stuff like that, and drive this mentality of seriousness and mission impossible here now in Bishopstown from now on, lads. We need to get out of this rut that we're in. It's like regimented soldier-like behaviour here from here on out. Show seriousness. We got a few of the quotes from Nash that this is what was happening, the double sessions, that this, we were all like, see how refreshed everyone was when he was saying that. But again, as it materialised, talk is cheap. We haven't walked the walk since any of that. And as I said, when I said, I was asked a couple of weeks ago, was I impressed with his comments? Yeah, but you know what? He hasn't won a game yet, and he hasn't kept a clean sheet yet, and we haven't improved any bit at all since Tim Clancy left. So, in fact, we've gotten worse. So
yeah, we got backwards in that one. Decky, which was funnier, the Andrew Ryan mascot walkout or the ball going up into the gallery against Pats there a few months back?
Dan's cutting people deep.
He is, yeah. I don't know which was funnier.
Lou Florpa is funnier than all of them. Like,
yeah, I'll go whichever one of the three got the most likes on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. It's the obvious answer, you know. Look, I think like Scotty said it. Who at the club looked at this and said, "That's a great idea. We'll do that. Should be great crap." Like, I mean, who? Because it's just like how, like, I mean, and there's the obvious jokes I can make. Oh, there wasn't just one comedian on the pitch, there was 12 of them, like, you know, but that's just a cheap, easy laugh, and I would never go for that, like, so I won't make that joke. But like it's just like, come on, like, we're in a fight for our lives here, and like, what's going to happen now is this was on TalkSport in England 3 or 4 times today. People are going to be emailing the club, "Hey, I'm Tommy Murphy from Manchester, and me buddy there is having his stag. If we fly to Cork, can he lead out the team? Can he be a mascot for the thing? Ha ha ha, it's great." Like, I saw Andrew Ryan put stuff up on his social media, and people are quoting it, like, laughing emojis, great crack and everything else. Everybody who thinks it's great crack has never been to Turner's Cross at a soccer game.
Yeah.
Anybody who's a fan of the club knows this. And just another example of absolute horse shit. But look, it is what it is. The club makes the decisions that they make. We come on here and we give out about them. And we're not that far away from somebody somewhere declaring that the reason that Cork City will be relegated is not because of the poor squad we put together. It's not because of injuries. It's not because of all the off-field antics. It's because TOTAP are too negative and they relegated us from the Premier Division, you know? It's only a matter of time before somebody comes out and says it. Like,
I think they'll be pointing at like the mascotty stuff. I'm sure the likes of Al Porter, Packy Bonner, and all these great friends of the club now and all that before they ever come to us. So anyway,
this will be your second relegation, Declan.
Yeah.
Lads, it was a shortened season and there was a global pandemic. I mean, are we going to laugh now at the pandemic? Like, come on. It's not funny, like.
Yeah, like, I mean, who was it said on the forum the other night, like, that Al Porter's 100% lined up to be the next mascot, like, you know? I mean,
he probably is. Like, I don't know why you're laughing. He probably is. He, like, would you even be shocked if he marched out in Turner's Cross the next time, or did a stand-up gig before a match or something? You wouldn't. You'd be like, here he is. We called it. You know, you would, like, it's such a shit show at the moment. You're just like, yeah, nice one. And the club probably are foolish enough to advertise it beforehand.
Someone's voice has got leg up here.
No, that's the new microphone, lads. That's the new microphone. And look, ye winding me up about this relegation is getting to be a bit rattled here, to be honest.
Job done.
Oh, God. Good time. I know you love me, lads. I know I'm your original and only Rebel Chief. Come on now. T-shirts available soon.
Player-wise, it looks like Daniels is gone to Kilmarnock. Is that another nail in the coffin, Decky, of City's relegation?
Look, I mean, this is Dan McDonald's exclusive or whatnot. Like, we all kind of knew he was going. I don't know. I'm conflicted on this one. The club, to be fair to the club, they only announced that he was here till July. But we all know he had to sign a contract until November. So, like, we had the whole no clauses thing from the club at the start of the season, and every newspaper in the country reported on it, and everybody agreed it was a great thing. And there was a quote, Paul O'Hare, I think, who's in the Mirror, if I remember correctly. It was definitely the Mirror anyway, had a quote from somebody at the club saying, "We recognise it might cost us some transfer targets, but that's something we're willing to deal with. We're not going to give players clauses." Okay, we were pinned to our collar to find a striker, but we found a lad who hadn't played in 6 months. You know, I would argue that he had no card. Like somebody said, "Oh, Daniel said all the cards." He hadn't played in 6 months. How could he have all the cards? We're giving him a gig until November at the best. So why agree to his July get out? I don't know. I don't understand it. Maybe there's context that I missed. But look, we went with the whole no clauses, no outs. And the first time we came under a bit of pressure to make a sign, and we gave him a clause and gave him an out, a gentleman's agreement. So look,
I'd say as well, Dick, to be honest, just being devil's advocate, I'd say we had a note as well, just in case he turned out to be shit. And that again is just panic signing. Again, the guy hadn't played in 6 months. I reckon either side can cancel the contract if they want. And then, Daniel's probably said, you know what, grand. If I'm good then and I knock in a few goals, they'll want to keep me. And the club probably thinking, yeah, but you know what, if you're rubbish, we'll just get rid of you in July. I'd imagine the only way it was agreed to was like, it was either party could cancel the contract.
Are you saying the club don't trust their transfer committee to find the right players? Are you saying that
I'm just saying
trust their scouting?
I'm just saying it's not exactly like the Kieran Sadler situation that we were lied to as well before when we said that we had an option on him, but he actually had the option. It's not that one situation.
Okay.
I'm sure in this case either party had the option.
Maybe, but as I said, we made big balls about no options. So
I know, yeah. And look, I said, the club said he's here until July only. We said in the last pod, if the club make a big deal about announcing that he's going to stay, we'd say it was cringy and all that. It should just be a one-liner. But now he's using the power of the deal, I suppose, and it's causing all this furore now again. And
look, more power to him. The thing is now,
but it's not great for the dressing room, Deck, to be honest. When you hear, like, I guess, look, I'm sure as well, some of our centre backs aren't too happy as well that Fikr Kelleher is coming in, and I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case, and they're thinking like, the writing's on the wall for me. Sure, I'm only here on loan, or I'm easily expendable here, and they're bringing in this guy now who's on big money and he's going to start every game. So you know what?
Should God love him?
Exactly, I know, but this is the attitude, Wayne, that's emanating.
Get stuck in, get the elbows out, get the head in.
Yeah, challenge him in training, and
the biggest travesty of this whole thing is losing trust. I'm telling you, like, I know he does a Boston every now and then and makes a mistake, but Christ, we should have been 4 or 5 down.
Oh, it would have been 6-0 if it wasn't for him. And
he's done this on multiple occasions. I know he makes mistakes, and some shots like, he should have got to that. But Jesus, the worldies he makes is like, I know there was a header and he probably made it look better than it was, but other keepers would not have saved that.
Yeah.
And I think
there was one or two on Friday where he kind of was expected to save it, but he did well to actually get it away from play. He didn't just pat it into the 6-yard box and someone tapped in.
Exactly. Yeah.
The art is actually getting the ball deflected away from the goal and out for a corner or away from danger. So, like, I agree with you, Wayne. It would have been 7-0 if it wasn't for him.
Well, one more question. Why did Nelson not start? Madness.
Coming back.
He's leaving in a couple of weeks.
It doesn't fucking matter. It was a must-win game. Like, put your best players on the pitch and go and win the fucking game.
I'm only giving you the answer, Wayne. He's leaving in a couple of weeks, and he's probably just back from injury, so they're probably like, might as well play my team that's going to be here for the long term or whatever. But we don't have time. But we don't have time for that. Like, we have to win games, unfortunately. Like, this is what annoyed me too when people were saying, "Oh, it was Nash's first game there, and we give everyone a pass." No, like, the games are taken away now, and we're rock bottom. We don't have the luxury of, like, we're probably going to lose the next 3 games, so we don't have the luxury of giving away points to Galway and Pats and whoever. We don't.
some new manager bounce. Are we now in a very dangerous position? I don't know how I'm going to put it to that. The senior players were going out for the drinks on Saturday, something we've seen in 2023, and now it looks like all the low knee lads are just here getting their clips for the highlight reel, throwing up inspirational quotes on Instagram and all that bollocks.
Oh, John 316 says I just whooped your ass. Jesus.
Mbeng looks like he was off already on the plane, judging off last Friday. Decky Carey, are we...
That absolutely breaks my
doomed?
heart, what happened there. Like, no tracking back, and it absolutely cuts me what I saw from him on Friday night. It really did. Like, that's what I'm saying. Troost is the only player, and Nelson, but, you know, they're the only two players I would say I'd ship the rest of them gone, like.
Yeah.
Go to Bishopstown, cancel all the contracts. I said this 2 years ago. Get another Bishopstown, cancel all the contracts, and get a whole new team in. That's what we're going to have to do.
Like, and is Mbeng signed for the whole season? He is, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, so like,
yes.
And there's talks of him leaving. Like, when I put together that tracker, which is available exclusively to Patreon members at patreon.com/TOTAP, when I put that together, he wasn't even on my list of players that was going to depart. I had him down as here until October. But
clauses, I'd say.
Come on now.
There can't be a clause.
So why else is there...
Are we getting a fee?
Rumours?
He's either leaving on again, he has the option to opt out of his contract, or we're getting a fee for him. It can only be one.
Unless it's $500,000. Genuinely.
Come on, no.
Why would you leave one of your best players go? Well, actually, no, hang on a second. Leave 4. Hang on. There's Troost, there's Nelson, there's Carl, and now Mbeng. Why would you have to 4? You're bottom of the table. Now, 2 of them you can help. 2 of them you can help. I don't want anyone telling me you can't stop these 2 lads leaving. You can, okay? Why would you leave 4 of your best players leave in the summer window when the rest of your team is basically shite?
If the loan players leave Wayne, that's fair enough. Kit Nelson, Troost, whatever. Yeah. If Mbeng goes, like, and then as it transpires, we don't get a fee, and he has some kind of opt-out in the window that he can go if another club comes in for him, like, who do we blame here then? Like, do you blame Tim Clancy? Do you say this should be the transfer committee's responsibility to make sure we don't sign players with these types of clauses in the first place, and that we should have a policy? Like, that's what I feel the transfer committee should be. It should say, this is the club's ethos when it comes to transfers. We don't have clauses. We don't have get-out clauses. We don't have these cheap sell-on clauses when we sell players. You know?
Decky.
Sorry to go back over old ground, but you know who does and installs all those things that Declan Carey just mentioned there? A fucking director of football. Somebody who knows the game, knows how things operate, and works at a level that he can control what happens on the footballing side of the club. We don't have that. Dan MacDonald had his article on Sunday where it was basically about Dermot Usher and his ownership, and he called Dermot a very hands-on owner, more like a chief executive. Now, what does a chief executive of a football club do? He's a chief executive of a football club, is involved in every single decision that's taken at the football club. That's one of our biggest problems, in my opinion. You know? But look, que sera, sera, as they say, because we can't do this every week as well. That's another thing. Like, we just cannot do this every week. And one of the things that was said pre-season that I clearly remember saying is that you use loan players to supplement the squad. You bring in loan players to fill a couple of holes. You don't build your squad out of loan players. And that's what, and players on short-term contracts. And that's what we've done. And we're going to pay the price for that now in this window again. And by the time the window finishes, there's 14 games left or something. There isn't even enough games to make up the ground as such. And look, it's just
who's at fault? Who's at fault here?
The club.
This is bullshit. No, like on a former say,
okay, you want me to say Dermot Usher's at fault?
No.
I'd say Dermot Usher's at fault.
I was going to say the transfer committee, but anyway.
But no, because like
it is though.
Dermot controls everything that happens at the club. Everybody knows that. Like Dan MacDonald knows that when he wrote that article, and that's fine. I'm not having a go off Dermot. It's his club. He can control everything. But he surely, like, one of the things he said in a podcast, I think it was at the start of the season or in the last season, that the biggest thing he learned from 2023 was that the most important thing at the club is what happens on the pitch. What happens on the pitch for the men's senior team is the most important thing at the club. Look where we are. So it's hard to reconcile the two, that he learned that in 2023 and he knew it, and we still came into this season with, in my opinion, a small budget, loan players, short-term contracts. Here we are. The two don't add up. The two just don't add up. And I don't want people going after Dermot Usher. I don't want people barracking him or hassling him or any of that stuff, right? But we're 2.5 years into this ownership now. Somebody has to stand up and start holding people accountable. I bear Dermot no ill will whatsoever. But his ownership has been an absolute disaster on the pitch. Off the pitch, it's been fine. On the pitch, it's been an absolute disaster. We need a director of football. And if we can somehow get away with it this year, Dermot, please, we need a director of football. We need somebody to take charge of the football operations within the club. I'm fucking begging you. I know you're listening. I'm begging you. Get somebody in to run the football side of the club, please. It's never going to work when you're trying to do it yourself. It's just never going to work. Please, for the good of the football club, the good of yourself, your own health, your own mental well-being and everything else, and the good of the fan base, get somebody in to run the football side of the club. I'm begging you.
Decky Carey, as someone who's been involved in a football club, how important do you think this director of football would be?
Immensely important, Dan. And I think my worry is that after the disaster of the Liam Buckley situation, the club has just said, oh, well, that went badly, so let's scrap it. Like, we just need to go back to the drawing board again. But like, the problem is then we're stuck now in this situation where we have to get the club out of the position that it's in. And that's, look, forget about all the stuff. The players getting caught drinking, the comedian, the Al Porter, the golf classics, the comedy nights, the Italian 90, Packie Bonner. Forget it. Like, just get the club off the bottom of the table. And then you can go off and do all this other stuff. Like, do whatever the hell you want. Tweet Legia Warsaw. Yeah. Like, you can do all you want. When you're in the Champions League and you're winning games and the cross is packed, do anything you want then. Experiment like crazy. But unfortunately, as Decky said, the important thing just has to be at the moment football, winning games, and winning more games. And we're not doing it at the moment. And I said it to you there on Friday night. I take one of Wayne's famous 0-0 victories now at this stage. And I think that would just be progression, because we've gone back in the last couple of weeks and this can't continue to happen. We're on a slide now, and Sligo are actually showing a bit about them. Like, so that's the worrying thing.
Oh, did they know we're there for the taking? Well, look, we're finally here for the game review. City 0, Bows 2. Decky, safe to say the worst performance of the season, I was going to say, but it could be possibly a few seasons.
Oh, absolutely terrible, Dan. I mean, there's no point in sugarcoating this one. Like when I think of the worst Cork City performances I've seen, I always end, and Decky won't like this, but there was a game in the first division where Cabinteely beat us 2-0 in Turner's Cross. And Jesus, that was as bad as I've seen. And at the time, we were doing the 955 live phone-ins before before Johnny Ward discovered how to do it and took it off the OTB, and I presume made money out of it. But I remember going back to the car that night and just unloading. And I think it was me unloading that night actually got me banned from the press conferences, because to be fair to Colin, he said, look, you can't talk about the players like that and then come into a press conference and ask them questions. Which, it took us 6 months to figure out what exactly had gone on. But once we did, you respected it. It was fine. I think Friday night was right on a par with that Cabinteely game, that Cabinteely performance, if not slightly worse. And I think one of the reasons is because there was an expectation. we had an expectation, the fan base. We had listened to Jordan Nash, as Decky said. Everybody bought into it. Everybody bought into the sound bites of the Cork base and the double sessions and the improvements that were going to come. We know the lads had been away for, most of them had been away for a week on a break, but we knew they were back in last Saturday. They had 5 days training. We presumed they lasted double sessions, and there was an expectation from the fan base that we were going to see this performance on Friday night in Turner's Cross that was going to illustrate to us Jornash's Cork City. And the fear is that performance did illustrate Jornash's Cork City. And if it did, then we might as well just shut the lights off now. But it was just horrendous. It was horrendous. Bows were first to every ball. They won every tackle. They created all the chances. The lads have already spoken about Team Troost. I mean, at least 3 absolute world-class saves. That one in the second half that he saves with his left hand when he was going the opposite direction. And he, not alone does he get his hand, like he gets a strong hand. Lads, that's world-class goalkeeping, you know? And only for that, it's 4-0 or 5-0 and it's desperate. But look, I mean, I know we're short on confidence. The first goal, look, what can you say? I'm not going to hammer Dara Crowley. We all make mistakes. And from the time the mistake is made, Dara is the only one who goes 100% to try and get back and stop a goal being scored. Evan McLaughlin is behind him and Evan starts jogging. I'm not calling him out. It's just what happens. You can clearly see it. He starts jogging, and when Team Truce comes out and forces Mikason wide, because Mikason takes a bad touch, Evan goes, oh shit, he may not score, and starts sprinting again. But what if he kept his sprint up the whole time? When Mikason goes wide, where would Evan have been then? You know? And if you stop the LOI TV feed when Dara miscontrols the ball, there's 3 Cork City players in the picture. There's no Bohemians player. If you stop the ball when if you stop the TV feed again when Archie Meekison's about to score, there's a Bows player there that Meekison can just roll the ball to his right. And I don't know, was it Dawson Devoy? I don't know who it was. But they could have tapped it into an empty net. So the Bows player outsprinted the City players to get there. And we know City players were jogging back because the third player in the shot when Dara loses the ball initially only reappears in the goal mouth shot after the goal has been scored. And when the goal is scored, there's 4 Bohemians players in the box before that Cork City player makes it back to the box. So people talk about a lack of effort. It's, where's the lack of effort? There's the lack of effort. If you go looking for it, you can find it. No problem whatsoever. The second goal, I mean, what are we doing? Defensively, like, what are we doing? And we could be there till now and we wouldn't have scored. We'd 1 shot on target all night. I can't even remember what it was, to be honest with you. We'd 7 attempts on goal in the game. It was just horrendous. And I don't know how you fix it. Jordan Nash, look, I said 2 weeks ago on this podcast, the sound bites were brilliant. He'd gotten the fan base energized. We were all waiting to see this performance that was coming. And this is what was served up. And we said 2 weeks ago, the sound bites are great, but it's all going to come down to what happens on the pitch. Absolutely abysmal. And it wasn't Jordan Nash's finest hour. Let's be fair. He stuck with his formation, went with 2 up top. If we're going to play 2 up top, which we can't do when Daniels goes because Shawnee is the only striker on the books, so it has to be 1. But if we go with 2 up top, he's going with 2 in central midfield. Every other team in the league will play 3 in central midfield in there and overrun us, just like Bows did on Friday night. And when you're losing the battle in midfield, the game is over. Whoever wins midfield controls the game. That's always been the way it has been about football, you know? And if we're going to go with 2 in the centre, other teams are going to go with 3 and do us every game. And it was never changed. It was only changed when Shawnee went off in 70 minutes. Like, it was just poor. The halftime substitution, Dara Crowley, okay, maybe he'd gone into his shell, maybe the outside was affected. Josh at left back? Come on. Do you know, Josh isn't the left back. You could put Evan McLaughlin in there. He could have done something tactically to at least try and give us an even platform in midfield, but they didn't. And I'm telling, there's no way in this god earthly world we're going to Tala with two up top. If we do, Lord help us. That's all I can say. It's probably Lord help us anyway. But if we go with two up top and only two in the central midfield against their three, forget about it, lads. Do you know?
Declan Carey, one of the worst performances of Cork City's history, perhaps.
Yeah, like I can only think back of probably one positive moment where Cahill should have stuck his chance. I think it was Josh's Fitzpatrick cross. Other than that, absolutely miserable. And as Decky, as you said, I remember that Cabinteely defeat at home like it was yesterday, to be honest, because I went around the entire VIP section, as they call it, and apologised to every sponsor and said that it would never happen again. And I remember speaking to Colin Healy immediately after the game, and we both agreed very amicably that it would never happen again. And I think we went on a nice trajectory then after that. We finished that season pretty well in the first division. I know we just missed out in the playoffs. And obviously then we won the league the following year. And I think that was the massive wake-up call. And I keep saying this in the last couple of weeks. I hope, no, this is the wake-up call, and I hope this is the one. But I feel like it just isn't coming. Like, and look, I'm not trying to say, no, like, back in the good old days, me and Colin Healy would fix all this. Like, we wouldn't. But, like, you know, we just have to show a bit more about us and a bit more energy and just, I don't know, show a bit more pride. And like after the break, it was a good opportunity to just reset now. The manager has had plenty of time with them. The players got their break away. A few of them went on holidays. I was expecting to see a hugely energetic side and, you know, us to put it up to Bose. And 5 minutes into the game, I was just like, this is just has doomsday written all over it. And
we were there thinking, it'll be the Bows players still at the airport.
Yeah.
We'll be grand. Our players know they're facing a relegation
and
battle.
we're at home.
We'll be ready for them.
Yeah. And
complete opposite.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe was it the empty stands? Like that crowd that was called out as well. Oh my God. There was no way there was anywhere close to that number of butts and seats. And that's a number that the club need to track. It's one thing counting the cash in the bank and saying, oh, well, we've 900 season ticket holders and who cares if 450 of them don't turn up. You want them to turn up because they're reflective of the perception that's around the club. And it doesn't even matter if you're calling out the attendance as 3,200 when we all know in our heart of hearts there was probably closer to 2,000, maybe under it in the ground on Friday night. It was more like a Munster Senior Cup final than a League of Ireland Premier Division game. And again, once again, if it wasn't for a full section of the St. Anne's end of paying Bows fans who paid their €25 for a ticket, it would have been a much grimmer attendance figure. Like they probably bought 450 down with them, maybe close to 500. And maybe the players came out and just saw the half-empty Donny Ford stand, the fairly sparse Derrynan, nobody in the St. Anne's end. The shed end is looking fairly empty these days as well in one particular sections of it, down closer to the horseshoe corner flag. Sorry, Steve. Maybe that's what it was. They just came out and said, geez, there's nobody here. And look, we called out, fantastic, 3,200 or whatever it was. Not a hope in hell.
That's on them to get people back into the ground, not on the fan base.
True, I know.
And the fan base will probably be somehow blamed for it rather than the players taking responsibility.
No, I'm not blaming the fans. I'm just saying, like, the club needs to take notice now of the actual butts and seats number and track that. And if that, not just like the cash in the bank and the season tickets sold, they need to make sure that the players are producing good enough performances and results that are bringing the people in and putting them into the seats. Because, like, that's your metric really to show how the club is performing, and that should be the one that they pay most attention to, and it should help drive things on. Because if you're business minded or whatever, and fair enough, if you're not football minded and you don't know the difference between a good performance and a bad performance and a spirited performance, fair enough. But if you're a business minded person, what are the percentage of seats filled in the ground, and it's dwindling every single week now. And that should set off alarm bells and panic stations from a business perspective. And that should have the knock-on effect of, giving the manager a kick up the arse, who then gives all the players a kick up the arse. All the coaches get a kick up the arse. Lads, you probably want, at this stage, every single person who maybe doesn't have a contract, or even the people who do have a contract, because we do have the money to throw around to potentially cancel them. Every single person should be saying, at this stage, lads, none of you are going to be here in November. So who's going to take a bunch of relegated players and coaches?
Yeah. Wayne, I know you're a young fella and yourself already left at half time. For the bits you did see of the game, well, what did you make of that shit
I saw
show?
all the game. I got home and watched it on LOA TV. I don't think I've seen a worse performance, really. It got bad during the end of Mountfield when all the players down tools at 4-0 Pats game. And he was sacked. Can't really do it now. The problem is, if the players do go down, they'll still be at the club because they're affordable. We'll keep them in the first division and they'll get them back up. We get a few of the Cove lads back. So by going down, it means they keep their jobs, in my opinion. The lads have said everything. I can't add to this. Yeah. If there's people listening to this podcast now and they don't realise the shit show we're in, they're going to lose a lot more money, And that's all that's been happening now is more money's being lost, more money's been pumped out, more money's been spent. There's been a lot of fundamental mistakes, basic mistakes made at the start of this tenure. And unfortunately, we can see it now.
It's the cadence of the mistakes is the worrying part, man, isn't it?
Mm. Plenty of educated people, like Declan there, Brian Lennox, John O'Sullivan. Like our first podcast, there was a joke about John O'Sullivan about needing a hug and stuff, all that kind of thing. That was a dig. There should be more respect shown for people who've run this club, who've made the club great. And unfortunately, look where we are now. There's a legacy for you. Relegated twice. Well done.
Decky, do you think Fikr Kelleher sorts out at least some of these mistakes that we keep seeing over and over?
Oh, look, it's who knows? He's the perfect age. He's spent 10 years in England. He's 29. He's a centre back. So he ticks a lot of the boxes. The one thing from reading, and I'm not going to pretend I've seen a huge amount of Fikr play, but he has the profile of type of player who does very well in the League of Ireland. But reading Colchester fans and reading other fans, he's not the quickest. He lacks a bit of pace, But Scotty will tell you, because Scotty has the Alan Bennett comparison based on the Football Manager and stats and everything else. So listen, if Fikr Kelleher comes in and he's anything like or anywhere near the level that Alan Bennett was, then brilliant. But one player doesn't fix this. They don't, unless they're Messi or Ronaldo or something, they don't fix this. So it becomes, what else can you add? It's a great start. To be fair, it's a great start. It's on a multi-year deal, which I'm going to presume is 2.5 years. It's good, but there has to be more. As I said, Jack's on his way out. If we want to play 2 strikers up top, we need to sign 3 strikers in the window. Now that's not happening. We're at a loss in midfield and central midfield for a ball winner. Somebody who can make a tackle, win a ball. We've tried to turn Sean Murray into this kind of hybrid 6. It's not his game. Sean Murray at Dundalk was a goal-scoring 10. He hasn't scored this year. He's actually had the most shots on goal, or he had up to a couple of weeks ago, of any Cork City player. But he'd only won on target over 27, I think, if I remember correctly. So, look, we need additions all over the place. It appears like we're going to lose our goalkeeper. Are we going to lose our right back in Milan Mbeng? Disaster, absolute, just disasters waiting to happen everywhere. And it's brilliant to bring in Fikr Kelleher, but what are you bringing him into?
Yeah, I reckon he'll be our captain next season, Deck. But I think we have to stay up for that. Something tells me, my spidey senses are tingling, that he may have a get out clause if we get relegated.
Stop. For fuck's
This is just
sake,
my spidey
stop.
senses, Deck. I wouldn't be, conforming that or anything like that. But like, it's hard to see a player of his caliber, especially if he like sets the world alight now, comes back to the League of Ireland. He puts in dominating performances, knocks in a few headers. Maybe I can see all this happening because he's obviously levels potentially above the League of Ireland. I would say. I think that's a fair statement. He could have easily got a National League side or maybe mid-table League 2, bottom of League 2, perhaps. I can fully expect him to show his prowess there, and it will be the easiest thing in the world for him to get into the team because we can't keep a clean sheet. But if he puts in a few stellar performances, and the thing is, even if we do get relegated and he comes in and he plays relatively okay, he'll still be attractive to other clubs, let's be honest, because he's young and he's a centre-half with huge experience, so he'll be an attractive prospect for any Premier Division club, and I'm sure his agent has told him this. And just again, we're not exactly in a position of power here when he's coming back to the club. I know he's from Cork and all that, but he's not exactly one of our academy players. He left Cork at a very young age. Like, look, let's see how it plays out. But if we get relegated, don't be shocked to see if Kelleher has left the club. Like,
Cheers for that.
Yeah,
Dick.
by all
Cheers
accounts, he turned down another deal at Colchester to come home. By all accounts, so, he definitely had suitors in England.
Absolutely.
He definitely had. I think that's good for us. I think
that's
that's
good. But will he play
with
with us in the first division? And he's probably on big money.
We won't be in the first division.
What? Hang on, what? Do you still think we can get out of this?
Of course.
Are you drinking again?
When you point behind Sligo.
Stop, will you? This is ridiculous.
How do you expect
these players to... This is absolutely...
Whatever. Yeah,
stop. It's ridiculous.
All right, will we put it to the TOTAP before war breaks out here?
Fucking levels all over the gaff again. Like, here we go. 20 years bad as
We're
them.
2 points behind Sligo.
Okay.
We asked them for their one-word answer to that one. Bill says putrid. James Greenham says embarrassing. Billy Darnay says embarrassing. And then he says, but to be honest, I need more than one word to describe that drivel. It was fucking abysmal. Dave Crowley, mortifying a performance of team and ref. Scott Buckley says down. LOA Designs surely wasn't over 3,000 at the game. Dunnux says minutes in the tank. Sean says, when are we back from holiday? Sean says, can we confirm Fikra is okay because you would want to be daft to join our circus? Magpie says brutal. Kevin Galvin says abject. Brian says lethargic. Philly Crowley says finished. Magpie says proud history with future. Killian says, where's our 3 points gone? Joseph says Jarrett Crowley was Bo's man of the match. Connor says turmoil in Crowley, heartless. Connor Lester left side. The Rebel Academy says transfers, Lee side boy gutless. The Rebel Academy says booing. Garrett the bad boy, Barry Hollybops, Aidlong effortless, Anthony Falvey no shameful. Kieran Johnson, I think we'll finish bottom. Topper says toast. The Donny Ford Ultra Mega Sergeant Platoon says, Jesus Christ, I can't believe I spent actual money to watch that. We look like we've spent the last 2 weeks sitting on the couch doing nothing and hadn't a clue, and there's plenty more besides. Dara Hogan here is one of 16 likes. How in God's name people can clap that off the pitch is beyond me. There you go.
Fairly optimistic stuff for everyone.
Yeah.
This is a positive podcast after all.
Actually, there's one here from the Donny Ford Ultra Mega Sergeant Platoon again. You know the referee's a C word when even the Donny fucking Ford stand can muster the chant to them about what a C word he is. Must have been something in the Werther's originals.
I don't know about the Donny. Back when I used to sit there back in like 2002 to 2000, well, until I became the chairman. And then I went into the super exciting who's who of who's not VIP area. But I always thought the Donny Ford, especially in 05, 06, used to give the linesmen an awful time and the ref an awful time. Some plenty cranky fellas up there, like I don't know, they're still there.
Yeah, I can testify to that. There's cranky fellas in the Donny Ford.
That's frowned upon now, Declan. It's frowned upon.
Anyway.
I don't get the referee stuff. Yeah. I mean, he had no influence in the game whatsoever.
Come on now.
There was a few tackles and fouls in the first half that
we need to be, we're a very naive team as well, Wayne. It's sad to see. Like I think we are.
Master Decky's been on that for decades. Years, Jamie. Years.
Like we lost 2-0 and our goalkeeper was man of the match. End of story. Like the ref wasn't to blame.
All right. Well, for the MVP, we just gave it to the fans. It was the Shed End supporters who won the vote with 41%.
They must have kept the flags down this week today.
Well, didn't they have some sort of Bose flag? Or
lads,
did they
move
steal a
on.
Bose
Move
flag?
on.
What was this?
Move on. I don't even want to come on. No, I think we've jumped the shark with the stock of the comedians and the players. If we talk about the fans and the Spurs flag.
All right. Well, that concludes the first half, TOTAP. Come back to us in the second half. We'll have a very exciting, I'm sure, Mbeng's bag. I think it's the biggest engagement we've ever seen. But anyway, and as well as the Shamrock and Drogheda previews. So don't go anywhere.
Okay, listen up, toe tapper. Do you love us? Do you sit back and wait every week for the pod to drop? Do you close your eyes and listen to our dulcet tones? If you have answered yes to any of these, we need you to show us the love financially. There are costs involved in creating this multi-award-winning podcast. And if you aren't already a Patreon, then it's time to stop being a freeloader. For as little as $5 a month, you will get weekly exclusive pods. There's access to data, a member section of our website, special early bits of the normal pod, and you can have direct one-to-one access to us with new benefits also on the way. So head to patreon.com/TOTAP and sign up now.
Welcome back to part 2, TOTAP. Unfortunately, Declan Carey had some babysitting duties to attend to, so he had to depart. But it is time now
there?
for Mbeng's bag. Shut up.
He's
For
there,
Mbeng's bag. No, he's not.
He has got the looks, he has got the style, he is the bowler at the back. He has got a big bag, and it is magnifique. It's Mbeng's bag, baby.
All right, thanks to Declan Carey for actually hitting the Mbeng's bag, but now he's gone, I swear.
He's still there.
No, he's not.
No, he's gone.
Eileen Ring.
Ooh.
Patreon questions. So players will get hammered for the sesh, and rightly so. But are we really to expect anything better? They are in a poor environment. Bishopstown is a disgrace. It's run down. It's dirty. That's players' first interaction with the club. Everything appears to be done on the cheap, including the squad assembly. The environment looks amateur, more concerned with how the club looks in socials than actually being a professional football club. It can't be a surprise to see players on the lash. The standards and expectations are set as soon as they step foot in a training ground where we couldn't even be bothered to pull up a few weeds or tidy the place up. And not owning it isn't an excuse. No pride in the club. Decky, back on sound, but geez, lads, it's hard to argue with anything there.
Absolutely. It's impossible to argue with anything. Once again, Eileen calling it as she sees it. Probably won't do her any favours. But, we're all pretty comfortable that ship has long sailed anyway. So we don't bother, we don't worry about it anymore. Look, she's 100% correct. Like, we've spoken about Bishopstown a lot. Like, the place is a kip. It's the only word for it. Like, there's no getting away from it. It's a kip. And as you said, it's the first thing players see. They have to train there every day. It's just, look, I don't know. David Cronin came in. When was that Forest meeting? There was going to be something about training grounds. David is working on that or was working on it. We've heard no more since. So we just wait with bated breath to see what's going to happen. But again, it comes back into what we were said earlier on. From top to bottom, the club just seems to be in a mess. And I genuinely don't know how you fix it at this stage. Maybe Scotty has some ideas, but I'm out of ideas.
Wayne?
No, Eileen put it very eloquently. Can't really add to it because she's pretty much nailed it.
Cullum O'Milan, although I think we already got to this one really. Dan McDonald reporting that Kilmarnock interested in Daniels. Do you think we may receive a fee, or will the club honour this gentleman's agreement and allow him to leave? Very quickly, Wayne, what do you think?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Like, you'd imagine there's no fee. And
Yeah.
I can't see why we'd try and shaft someone to do it because we'd never get someone back again. But look, the moral of the story really is stop talking to the media, stop making promises that you can't keep, and just blackout social media, blackout media, blackout meetings, blackout going to multinationals and just crack on.
Absolutely. Philly says, what comedian will we have on the pitch next time? Good to see everyone leaning into the fact the club has become a joke. Win from Norman, okay. Says, aside from hiring McNulty as the goalkeeper coach, replacing Troost or some Appalachian magic my grandmother could teach me, what's it going to take for City to get a clean sheet this year? Decky.
Who knows? I mean, we come on here and we try and give opinions and give answers, but a lot of the time, no, you're just struggling. Who knows? We're 19 games in. We haven't kept a clean sheet yet. Like, the McNulty one is kind of strange because they haven't announced them. And there was a piece in the Echo, I think was it last night, where Nash was asked, and he just said, Mark is helping out at the moment. I don't know whether he'll be here till the end of the season, whether he'll be here long term. And it's like, what? How do we not know what like Scotty said earlier on? There's no planning. There's no long term planning. How does the manager not know if Mark McNulty is going to be here long term, or here till the end of the season, or only here helping out for a couple of weeks? Like, how is that not known? Like Anthony Fennelly was left go, so there had to be a plan in place, you would imagine, if when he was left go. The club tweeted that he was left go, and the first thing we did was quote tweet him and said, announce Nults, because Nults was at the game against Treaty United, the warm-up game that we had in Bishopstown on, I think it was the Monday night. Nults was at that game. People were there. They saw him. You know, it became blindingly obvious to people that Nults was going to be the goalkeeping coach now that Fennelly was gone. So we were able to tweet announce Nults. And there's still no announcement. There's nobody knows. It's more of the sure, why keep the fan base informed of what's happening around the planet? Why keep the fan base informed of who's on the coaching staff and who's not on the coaching staff? The first official news people got was on FAI Connect on Friday night when Mark was listed on the bench as head goalkeeping coach. Do you know? Nulls is a legend. He's one of the genuine legends. If you're taking him on, announce him. It's something that the fan base will look at as a very positive thing at a time when the fan base is as negative as it has been in 8 years. You announce a legend, he's back as goalkeeping coach, it gets you some kudos. But we haven't, and I don't understand it. I don't know.
Playing devil's advocate, it might be Null's side. He mightn't be committing. He might have other commitments that he wants to finish first. So, like, I know it's easy to say, like, oh, sign him, but maybe he just doesn't, maybe he's not ready. But in that case, he shouldn't be there. You have someone else. Surely you get rid of a goalkeeping coach, you have someone lined up.
Exactly.
Unless they have someone lined up coming in and Nulls is just doing the few weeks. But then just say that.
Yeah.
You would have someone lined up. If he's signed and ready to go, announce it, but he's got other commitments. That's fine. You know, people have commitments. We all know that.
Okay. Time to go to the questions on X. Colm Nolan asks, how much are you looking forward to Tala win?
No, not at all. I think we will be... Do you know what? We're not going to be... Let's keep it for the end of the pod. Keep it in suspense.
Oh, yeah. City win, yeah. Billy Darney, how much will the first division season tickets be for seniors? Then he also follows it up with, I laughed at first, then realised they were laughing at us. LOY Design says, still can't get my head around the decision to play Crowley left back. And then Fitzpatrick there, surely could have played Charlie there if we had to. Even had Evan there last year. Tim Clancy Ball says, why does Josh Fitzpatrick even start? He's had a shocker of a season. Wayne, because he has to.
Pace is clearly what it is. It's clearly he wants pace up front, but like, there's no point in having pace if we can't control the ball in the middle, unless you're going long ball, which we can't do anyway, because Daniels can't head up football by the looks, and Shawnee he should be the man running off Robbie Keane, Larry Quinn style. But hey, who knows? I think we're in a worse place than we were before when Tim Clancy was here. At least with Tim Clancy, you kind of felt, what's the word? Warm. You felt you were in control. We felt that we were there was a man in charge who knew what he was doing, and now I'm kind of going, oh, what's going on here? I'm a bit worried. There's no control. Club's burning around us, and generally worried. But again, people might take that as being negative, but it's just the way I think.
Decky, I'll go to you here. If or when the City team goes down, is there no strong chance they don't come back up?
No, I think we'd come back up. I do think we'd come back up. That's on the proviso that Dermot would be hanging around, which I think he would. He'd have to get us back up. But getting back up would probably be relatively easy. More than likely. Because that first division is absolutely rubbish. So would probably be relatively easy. It's then again it becomes what would happen when you come up. And look, they're not conversations that you really want to have, no. There's really a touch of fool me once, shame on me, or fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me,
Fool me 3 times?
Yeah, fool me 3 times. Oh, Jesus Christ, who knows,
The Dogger asks, is Rob Roy Gate worse or better than Secret Garden Gate? At least the Rob Roy is a pub and not a nightclub.
You can't compare it to people going on the lash out. There's differences. The worry we have is that the older people, there's a once off. Fine, don't do. Just be careful next time. Don't be silly.
The uninvited guest asks, how many points do the pod think will be relegated by the end? When?
How many what?
How many points do you think we'll be relegated by at the end?
I couldn't tell you. We could be 6 or 7 points behind Sligo, I think. I generally think that.
Decky, you don't think we'll be relegated?
I can't give up the hope. I can't give up hope. I can't abandon that hope. And look, I know it's hope that kills you in the end, but can we beat Waterford twice? Can we win those 3 games back to back? Galway, Waterford, Sligo. There's all those questions. There is a road out of it. It's just as Wayne has said and I've said previously, every game you don't win, it's just it's a game. It's 3 points that you can't get back. And that Bows game at home on the back of a break with everything that had been said, that was I agree with Wayne. It was a must-win game. It was just for the sanity of the fan base. Even it was a must-win game, and to turn up and put in that performance and play like that, and then have all the stuff on Saturday night and have Sligo win. It's just the heart and soul was ripped out of the fan base this weekend. I think people believed and people could see Pats out of trouble. And I think the performance Friday night added to the Saturday night result for Sligo. It was like a kick in the solar plexus for most fans. They kind of went, Jesus, I had hope, I had belief. I have nothing after that. And then this video emerges of the senior players on the tear on the Saturday night. And I think it's just ripped the heart and soul out of the fan base. It went from a fan base where probably 80 to 90% people believed that we could finish above Sligo and win a playoff, to where now maybe 20% of the fan base believe that. And everybody else is just... It's almost like you're having the funeral before the person has passed away, if that makes sense in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
Dan, if we had Truston and Mbeng and Nelson at the end of the season, I would say yes, we're staying up. Can't build a first 11 in 1 month. You can't. That's the problem. That's the fundamental issue. We kicked ourselves in the nuts in January, and the pain is going to get worse in July.
It's fine, sure. We brought in Shawnee and Keats. There's a few out Nash, so we'll roll them all into the one here. The topper asks, when the only pride on display is on the corner flags, is it already too late to save the season? Nash appears to have all the charisma and confidence of a sub-teacher pitched in teaching Latin in the man. Where's the hope? There's kind of a few about him saying the players are already not playing for him. Decky, can you say that's fair, given it's been such a short space of time?
I don't think it's fair, but you can see why people are saying it, to be honest. You just can't. It's so hard to describe how humiliating, I think is one word that you could use, how humiliating that performance was on Friday night. It just looked like the players didn't care. And if Jur had the whole week with them, he's been there a month now. David Moyler was in, it was his first game. Nults was in, it was his first game. And there was just no sign of a response from the players. And that's a massive, massive, massive red flag all of a sudden. Like, the fan base bought into Jur. And here is the thing, look, it's absolutely beyond ridiculous to be having a conversation like this about a manager after it was his third game, fourth game max, depending on whether you count the first Pats game. But the problem is, as Scotty's pointed out numerous times, there's no time. There's no time for anybody to make mistakes or to learn on the job or do any of those things. So therefore, everything gets amplified. Every mistake is amplified 100 times. Every bad substitution, every poor tactical decision. And now we have it 4 games in and people are questioning the manager. And a lot of it goes back to 2023 when we saw what happened when Liam Buckley came in. But Buckley got a bounce. We won 4 on the trot, if I remember that time after Buckley came in.
Did, yeah.
Yeah, he got a bounce. Jur's got nothing. And I feel desperately sorry for him, to be honest with you. But he has to get a grip of it. He has to get a hold of it. He has to pull something out of somewhere. Now we have Shamrock Rovers away next Friday night. Then we have we have Drogheda at home on Monday. You want an indication of attendances. See how many tomorrow for Bowes or for Drogheda on a Monday night. And then we have Pats at home. And 2 of those 3 games are on television. The Shams game and the Pats game. I've already seen talks online about a protest in front of the TV cameras for the Pats game. I don't know whether it's going to happen or not. Where lads are talking about keeping their seats empty and not going to their seats until 3 minutes in or 5 minutes in or whatever it might be, but trying to make some kind of a protest on TV. As I said, I have no idea whether it'll happen or not, but I keep coming back to the club's just a mess. From top to bottom, it's a mess. And I don't know how you solve it. Genuinely don't. Breaks your heart, though. Absolutely breaks your heart.
Mark Fuller asks, Nash, Clancy, explain the difference.
I will after another 2 or 3 games. And that's not me copping out, but you know me. There's only been 4 games since Tim left. I have my stats running. I'm collating them, and I actually have, Tim Clancy's numbers. I like to get 6 games, 7 games of numbers where you can see patterns and see what's happening. But, so far, the numbers for Jur aren't great. They aren't great. And, we know how bad we were under Tim, but in lots of areas, Tim's numbers are better than Jur. Average numbers across those games are better than Jur's. It's not a great sign.
All right, going to head to Instagram here. Hi lads, couldn't fit this in your mailbag response in your story, so here we go. Very weird to see an alternate universe where the owner and Potter laughing and joking together. I think that's what Wayne brings up often enough. Seeing as we all know Usher is a regular listener, or at least someone very senior within the club, the best bit of advice I could give him now would be to also go back and listen to that podcast and see what promises were made. He's on about the original podcast that Usher was on, and what City fans were expecting, and what the Force members voted based on. If you went back and saw that the podcast was willing to support him and get behind him, especially based on the promises he made, but then called him out for not delivering on those promises, it might be a wake-up call. Do you think it would? I don't particularly think it would do anything.
I think Dermot is very determined that his way is the right way and the best way. And I don't think anybody's ever going to change his mind on that. So, see what happens.
Our Cronin asks, how many players went for Grabber-Granny in the Rob Roy? Darragh Ruddy says, going straight back down where we belong, absolutely brutal. Bobby Dalton, we get one more good result. Will come. Darwell, what would it take for Usher to take on board the opinions of fans / the consumers? Wayne?
No, move on.
All right.
No point. There's no point. It'll never happen.
Sean Healy, club needs to organise an open talk between Usher and the fans. And Killian says, I'm sick of being the laughing stock of the league. You had to nip off there and Wayne, but we were just talking about potentially a planned protest at the Pats game or one of the games on TV. Or it's just the Pats game, sorry, at Turner's Cross.
My protest now would be sitting home with a nice glass of vodka, watching the game.
But
and maybe
that'd be there'd be empty seats in the ground. Do you think that would do anything?
100%. And it's nothing to do with like it being on TV or this narrative of LOI TV is ruining it. It's just it's not enjoyable. I know 3 people who were from the UK who were over at the match on Friday, and they were saying like the match experience, even though we built it up as this, not we, the club built it up as if it's amazing, they said it's terrible experience. It was like a lower league, National League game.
Well, we were at some conference talking to somebody 2-3 days ago on LinkedIn saying how great it was. Like,
yeah, well, these are football fans. This is here. You just literally nailed the issue here. Conference people, multinational people who think, "Oh, this is great." These were 3 football fans who support English football clubs who were here, and they didn't. I could read out the text. I'm not going to do it because there's no point in hammering again. But they were basically saying that like there was no atmosphere there. They didn't think that it didn't seem like there was a professional football game going on.
mm-hmm.
And you've just literally nailed it. If people on LinkedIn are saying it's a great atmosphere, and football fans are saying it's not, which one is right?
Yeah,
because it's not LinkedIn.
100%. We've kind of done the questions in the mailbag there.
Cool.
Got as many as we could in the time. So we're going to look ahead now to Shamrock and Drogs previews. Wayne, out of these 2 games, how many points do you see us getting?
I'd love 1 point with an 0-0 draw with Drogheda. I would adore it.
Mm-hmm.
That's something to build on. There's no point in going up to Shamrock Rovers and getting a 5-3 loss or a 6-4 battling performance. We need clean sheets. And I'd be going 4-5-1. I would. That's what I'd do. I'd leave Shawnee up front just to run. And if we're losing, I'd stick Daniels on, swap him over, 10 minutes to go, and push the wingers up higher. Go a long ball. That's what I do. Just try and get a clean sheet. Because what we're doing isn't working. And I can't see us getting anything from Shamrock. I'd love it if we did. But history and this season and performance and passion and determination and tactics suggest we won't. I think we'd have a bigger chance under Tim Clancy. And like, Jesus, that went to shit, didn't it? Yeah, I just have zero. They have a lot to prove, these players. They have a lot of people to shove it in their faces. Let's do it Friday night. Let's do it Monday night. Why not?
Decky, how many points or point are you expecting?
We won't get anything in Tala. We have to then beat Drogheda on Monday night. I mean, there's nothing else. Like, we have to beat Drogheda on Monday night. There's no other result. There's no other result anywhere near acceptable. Like, I don't think there's even a discussion to be had on it, to be honest with you. Like Sligo go to Drogheda on Friday night, and they've Galway at home on the Monday. In theory, they could take 4 points from those 2 games. What are we going to do? That'll put us 6 behind. We'd have to beat Drogheda. I mean, things can, like, we think we're bad now, as Scotty's pointed out. We can go from bad to worse very, very quickly. We've Pats after that at home. Terrible side, terrible to watch, boring as fuck. But they've beaten us twice already this year. So, like, I would actually pick a team for Shams on Friday night with a view to Drogheda on Monday, to be honest with you. And I kind of like, I hate myself for saying it. I hate myself for saying it because it's not something I believe in. But
the problem there, Declan, is if we get battered on Friday, it's going to cause a lot of problems with the fan base, with the media. Not the media, but you know, I know what you mean. If we weren't in such a bad position, I'd probably do the same. But right now is not a time. I wish the fixes were flipped. I really do.
Yeah, if the fixtures were flipped, it would be unbelievable. Like if I draw it, but they're not, and we have to play them the way they are. And look, we're going to go up there, and Matt Healy, in half a season at Shamrock Rovers, is very probably the league's player of the year so far. Matt Healy from Ovens in Cork, who was playing in Turner's Cross this time 2 years ago. He's player of the year now for Shamrock. Definitely their player of the year. Very possibly league's player of the year. Talk about getting kicked in the solar plexus. There it is, like. Do you know? The Rat. The Rat was in an Irish squad last week. You know? Scoring goals from left wing back, left, right and centre. Do you know? Is he going to kiss the crest again? Shove it in our face? Who knows? But I'll tell you this much. How do you argue that Matt Healy and Josh Hoonihan were wrong to leave Cork City? How can you argue that they were wrong? You can't. It's impossible. And that's shameful. Shameful that Cork City supporters can't put up a legitimate argument for why those two players were wrong to leave Cork City. They weren't. They were 100% for their own careers, 100% correct. Breaks my heart to say that as well. But we have to be realistic here, like. Do you know? As I said, Josh is in an Irish squad. I don't think he was anywhere near good enough, but look, that's neither here nor there. The manager did, and he picked him. If he was playing for Cork City, would he be in an Irish squad? Absolutely not. He's probably off to the championship in July. Best of luck to the lad. I know I called him the Rat, like, but he'll understand that. Cork City to Shamrock Rovers should never happen. Should never happen. Should get hammered for it. But correct thing for his career? Absolutely. Heartbreaking for a Cork City player. Cork City fan to say and admit. But it's where we are now.
If you're Joe Nash, what are you saying to the players ahead of these two fixtures?
I'm not sure I'm saying anything. And that's not being smart. But I think I'm hoping that there's enough kudos in that dressing room that they realise themselves that Friday night was nowhere near good enough. That they realise the season has been nowhere near good enough. Because sometimes management can't fix things. Sometimes new goalkeeping coaches or new assistant managers can't fix things. Sometimes the fixes have to come from the players themselves. It has to come from the dressing room. And I'm starting to feel like this might be one of those situations where the fix has to come from the leaders in the dressing room. And here's the thing. Look, if the players feel put out by what we've said here tonight, if they feel maligned by how we've spoken about what went on over the weekend and how to, well then, put it right. Shove it in my face. Shove it in my face. Go out and put on a performance in Tala and go out and beat Drogheda on Monday night. And when you do beat Drogheda on Monday night and the press conference that happens after the game, turn around and say it straight out. We wanted to shut that fucking podcast up and we beat Drogheda to shut them up. And I'll come on here the next one and say, fair fucking play, lads. That's exactly what we wanted to hear. It's exactly what we needed to hear. Do you know? If you feel maligned, if you feel like we're on your case, then shove it to us. By all means, please do. Please shove it to us. We shove it to the club. So why don't the club shove it back to us? Why don't the players shove it back to us?
Rob Roy, we do.
Yeah, do you know? Like, please do. And call us out. I've no problem. Because if you lose to Shamrock Rovers and you lose to Drogheda, then next Monday night's going to be twice as bad as tonight was. And then you lose to Pats, the following week's going to be twice as bad again. So at some stage, the players have to step up and shut everybody up. And it's in their hands to do so and in their power to do so. And God, lads, I long and I hope and I pray, and I'll pray every night this week that they shut us up. I want nothing more, absolutely nothing more than for them to shut us up. So here's the challenge, lads. Go out there in the 2 games this weekend and shut TOTAP the fuck up once and for all.
If we lose to Shamrock and then we lose to Drogheda, that reception's going to be
The wheels are off the wagon there.
The next home game is July, 19th. That's a cup game, so no one's gonna be at that. 25th of July is the next home game, really. Oh no, Pats. We Pats at home as well. That's gonna get nasty. Jesus, I hope they're ready for that. If they lose, because it's gonna get nasty.
Well, lads, what do we think? Score prediction for Shamrock first. When
I'm not giving score predictions for this. I don't want to do it.
Decky.
3-1 Shamrocks.
I go 4-0 Shamrock. Drogheda win. You don't want to do it either.
No, do you know what? I think 4-0 Shamrock, and I think 2-0 Drogheda. I don't think we're going to win a game until Leicester Celtic.
Decky.
Do you really fancy us to beat them? You do.
And again, I hope. Look, this isn't me being negative. It's just I'm a football fan. It's what I think. I was positive. I was over positive at the start of the season. I'm probably over negative now. Maybe we'll lose 2-0 to Shamrock Rovers and 1-0 to Drogheda.
Decky,
yeah,
give us hope here. Give us hope for the Drogheda one.
I think we get beaten in Tala, but there has to be a reaction in the performance. Okay, there has to be a reaction in the performance Friday night. There has to be a reaction in the performance on Monday night. Maybe I'm a fool. Maybe I'm the biggest fucking idiot God ever put into shoe ladder. Lots of people. There's at least one man nodding his head vigorously yes as he listens to this now, you know.
Two, Declan.
Two. Yeah, two. So, you know, maybe I am that fool, but I want to believe that there'll be a reaction and that we'll see that reaction against Drogheda. And I'm going to say we beat Drogheda 2-1.
You're unbelievable,
How
do you still have hope in this? How do you still?
But you have to believe.
Yeah, you do. But there's 5 years of pure and utter.
Oh, I know.
Pain. It's just come on. It's you look at. I looked at the Club World Cup in Auckland City. The poor keeper conceded 10, but Jesus, they gave it a goal. They're playing Bayern Munich and they gave it a goal. They tried and they were 2 down after 10 minutes, and at least they gave it a crack. We just
win.
Yeah.
Before we end, can you give us any positivity before we wrap up?
If anyone's going to save us, Whitey's here. The next 3 games, is it? Is it 3 or 4 before the end? It'll be Team Troost. I generally think that he could be. You've seen it. You've seen Bonner against England in 1988. Bonner again in 94 against Italy. Shea Given at 2002. You could have a game where the keeper just pulls off every single save and they can't score. That's all we need is one game where they just grow and they realise we can do this. And that could be Shamrock. Who knows?
Jesus Christ, we'll be putting water on the pitch this time. We'll be hoping to Christ it pisses from the heavens.
To be fair, we've never complained about the players trying all season. In fact, we've actually said the opposite. We said they try so hard, they're just not really good enough. Friday was a blip. Don't let it happen again. For the love of God, please, come on. You're grown men now. Just go out there, play for the shirt.
All right. Is it time to say adios?
It is.
Declan McCormick, anything else you want to add before we hit time?
I think I've said enough. We live in hope.
Let's not have Declan Carey have 2 relegations on his card. Please. Come on, lads.
It's getting to him, isn't it? It's getting to him, lads.
What does he say? Sierra
Miedo. Miedo, is it?
Adios.
Sierra Miedo. I didn't get us relegated.